The message came in while the office lights were still humming above me. Not buzzing, not chiming. Just one dry vibration against the wood of my desk. I didn't reach for the phone right away. I already knew who it was from. When your family only contacts you when they want something, the body learns the pattern before the mind does. I flipped the phone face up. Ethan. It's probably better if you don't come to the engagement dinner. That was it. No explanation, no apology, no hesitation. My thumb hovered over the screen. I read it again. Slower this time, like if I stared long enough a second sentence might appear. It didn't. The office around me kept moving. The dishwasher in the break room clanked. Someone laughed down the hall. The air conditioner kicked on, rattling like it always did when it was tired. I stayed still. That was the first snap. Not loud, not dramatic, just something thin and final like a wire pulled too tight. If you've ever had family treat you like you don't matter, like your presence is optional, but your effort is expected, hit the like button. Subscribe if you're tired of carrying people who wouldn't lift a finger for you. And if this already feels familiar, stay with me. This story isn't about yelling. It's about what happens when you stop fixing things. I set the phone down and looked at my hands. They were shaking, not the obvious kind, just enough that I noticed my sleeve twisting under my fingers. I loosened my grip and forced my breath to slow. In, out, clean. I was sitting in my Austin office, late afternoon light bleeding through the blinds. On my desk were 3 printed schedules color-coded, venue timeline, catering flow, lighting cues, all for Ethan. 3 months of work, calls made between meetings, favors pulled from people who didn't owe me anything, my reputation stitched into every detail, and with one sentence, I was out. I didn't cry, I didn't slam anything. I didn't text back something clever or cruel. I stared at the screen until it dimmed. Then I picked it up and called my mother. She answered on the 3rd ring. "Hi, Lauren," she said, already distracted. I could hear running water, the scrape of plates, dinner prep. "Did you know about this?" I asked. A pause. Too long to be innocent. About what she said. I read the text out loud, slowly. Every word landed between us like dropped glass. Another pause. Then she sighed. Not a shocked sigh, a tired one, like I'd inconvenienced her. "Honey," she said, "it's their night." That was the second snap. I planned the night I said. My voice didn't rise. That scared me more than if it had. "I know, and we appreciate that," she replied quickly. "But you don't need to make this about you." There it was. I closed my eyes. "I'm his sister," I said. "I've been working on this for weeks. Why wouldn't I be there?" She lowered her voice the way she did when she thought she was being reasonable. "Madeline has a certain vision. You know how these things are." "I do know," I said. "I'm the one who made it." "Lauren," she warned. "Don't start. Don't start. Don't feel. Don't ask." I thanked her for her time and hung up before she could pivot into guilt. The office felt smaller after that, like the walls had leaned in to listen. I stared at the contracts again. My name was on every single one, not Ethan's, not Madeline's, mine. I dialed Ethan. He answered with a sigh like he'd been expecting the call but resented it anyway. What he said. "What do you mean I shouldn't come?" I asked. He didn't bother softening it. "Madeline thinks it would be awkward." "For who?" "For the vibe," he said. "Her friends, her family, and me." "You're intense," he said. "This is supposed to be fun." I laughed once. It came out sharp and wrong. "You asked me to handle everything," I said. "I've been doing damage control for months." "Exactly," he replied. "And you've done great. We're grateful. But I don't get to sit at the table. Don't be dramatic." That was the 3rd snap. "I paid deposits," I said. "I coordinated the venue. I dealt with the lighting issue when the city inspector flagged it. I reworked the seating chart twice when Madeline's aunt decided she hated her ex-husband again." "Lauren, and now I'm not welcome." He exhaled hard. "Look, this isn't personal. That line should come with a warning label. You don't fit the energy," he continued. "That's all." I waited for him to say something else, something human. Nothing came. "I'll let you go," I said. "Good," he replied. "We'll talk later." He hung up first. I sat there for a long moment listening to the silence that followed. The dishwasher had stopped. Someone shut a door down the hall. The office lights flickered, then steadied. I called my mother again, straight to voicemail. Then my father called me. He didn't ask how I was, so he said about the engagement gift. My jaw tightened. They were thinking maybe a contribution toward the trip, he continued. Something meaningful. How much I asked? $2,500. I laughed. Not softly. I'm not invited, I said. That's separate, he replied immediately. This is about family. There it was again. I've already given, I said. Time, work, money. And you should be proud, he snapped. Your brother deserves this. The word deserve sat heavy in my chest. I'm not paying, I said. Silence. Then colder than I expected. You're making this harder than it needs to be. I hung up. My phone buzzed again before I could put it down. A notification. Instagram. A cousin's story. Glasses clinking, smiles wide. The caption read, "Pre-celebrating the best couple." I wasn't in any of the photos, not even tagged, not even mentioned. That was the fourth snap. I turned the phone face down and stood up so fast my chair scraped loudly against the floor. I didn't care who heard. I grabbed my jacket and headed for the door. As I walked out, my mother's text came through. Don't do this. This is about family, not your feelings. I stopped in the hallway. Read it once. Then again. That was the last snap. Not loud, not visible, but final. Somewhere between the fluorescent lights and the echo of my own footsteps, I realized something clean and terrifying. I wasn't losing my family. I was finally seeing them. The thing about being useful is that people stop seeing you as human. They see you as infrastructure. I didn't learn that all at once. It crept in slowly, disguised as trust. As, you're so good at this. As, we couldn't do it without you. I drove home that night on autopilot. Austin traffic crawled red lights bleeding into one another like open wounds. My hands stayed locked at 10 and 2. Too tight. I noticed it only when my fingers started to ache. At my apartment, I kicked the door shut with my heel and leaned back against it. The silence hit first. No TV, no music, just the faint buzz of the refrigerator and the click of the ceiling fan, pulling warm air in slow circles. I slid down until I was sitting on the floor. Didn't cry, didn't scream. I took my phone out again. That was my mistake. Emails, texts, vendor confirmations, all addressed to me. Lauren final menu approval needed. Lauren lighting adjustment confirmed. Lauren seating chart revision attached. No one had removed me yet, because in their minds I was still working. I thought back to how it started. Ethan's call months earlier. He'd sounded almost shy then. Hey, he said, you're really good at this stuff. That should have been my first warning. He talked about the proposal, about Madeline wanting something elevated but intimate, about how expensive planners were. You don't mind helping, right? He asked. I didn't even hesitate. Of course, that was my second mistake. From there, it snowballed. A quick suggestion turned into a full plan. A favor turned into responsibility. Responsibility turned into expectation. I was the one who toured venues in 100-degree heat, the one who smoothed things over when Madeline decided she didn't like a place after the deposit, the one who found a caterer willing to redesign a menu twice without charging extra because she trusted me. Every time something went right, it was their event. Every time something went wrong, it was my job to fix it. I remembered standing in a loading bay 2 weeks earlier, phone pressed to my ear, sweat running down my back. Please, I'd said to the rental company, we just need the tables delivered an hour earlier. They agreed. Because I asked. That memory burned now. I pushed myself up off the floor and poured a glass of water. My hand shook as I lifted it. I set it back down untouched. My phone buzzed again. Mom? I let it ring, then Dad. Ignored, then Ethan. I watched the screen light up, felt nothing, and let it go dark. At 11:42 p.m., my mother left a voicemail. Her voice was tight, controlled, the voice she used when she wanted to sound reasonable while saying something cruel. Lauren, I don't understand why you're reacting like this. No one said you weren't important. This day just isn't about you. You need to stop being so sensitive. Sensitive? That word landed harder than the rest. I deleted the voicemail without replying. The next morning I woke up with a headache and the strange calm that comes after something breaks beyond repair. I made coffee. Black, too strong. Stood at the counter and stared at the wall while it cooled. My inbox had doubled overnight. No messages from family, just work. I opened one from the venue manager. "Hey Lauren, quick check-in. Are we still on track for final walkthrough tomorrow?" I typed back without thinking. "Yes. Same time." My fingers hovered over the keyboard after I hit send. Why did I just say yes? Because that's what I always did. I went to work anyway. Sat at my desk, answered emails, took calls, smiled when coworkers asked how my week was going. No one noticed the shift. No one ever does when the responsible one starts unraveling quietly. Around noon, Madeline texted me for the first time since the blow-up. "Hey, quick question about the centerpieces." No greeting, no acknowledgement, just business. I stared at the message until my vision blurred. I typed back 3 words. "Ask Ethan." A minute passed. Then another text. "I thought you were handling that." My jaw clenched. Not anymore. That was all. The typing bubble appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then nothing. That afternoon I met Jenna for coffee. She was already there when I arrived, legs crossed, notebook open, eyes sharp. She took one look at my face and didn't bother with small talk. They did something she said. I sat down hard. "They told me not to come," I replied. Her eyebrows lifted. "To the event you planned?" "Yes. And you're still running it." I laughed once. It sounded broken. "I think they assume I will." Jenna leaned back, studying me like a problem she was about to solve. "Lauren," she said slowly, "who signed the contracts I did? Who's the point of contact?" "Me. And who's liable if something goes wrong?" I didn't answer. She leaned forward. "You're not excluded. You're being exploited." That word cut clean. I opened my mouth to defend them. "Habit? Reflex." Jenna raised a hand. "Don't." I closed it again. "You've been propping them up," she continued, "and the second you're inconvenient, they erase you. But they still want the benefits." She tapped my notebook with one finger. "Why are you still holding this together?" I didn't have an answer. Because family. Because history. Because guilt. Because I was trained to confuse usefulness with love. Jenna's voice softened, but her eyes didn't. "You don't have to burn anything down," she said. "You just have to stop holding it up." That sentence lodged in my chest and refused to move. I went back to the office and closed my door, opened my email, pulled up the draft I'd started a dozen times and never finished. My fingers hesitated. Then I typed. Short, polite, professional. "Due to personal reasons, I will no longer be coordinating the engagement event. All responsibilities will transfer to Ethan Whitmore, effective immediately. I wish you all the best moving forward. No explanations, no apologies, no emotional padding." I sent it to the venue. The caterer, rentals, lighting, security. My phone rang within 2 minutes. I watched it buzz across the desk. Didn't answer. A second call. Then a third. I turned the phone face down. For the first time in months, I did nothing. And in that silence, something terrifying and liberating settled in. If they fell without me, it was never because I left. It was because I'd been carrying weight that was never mine to begin with. The fallout didn't arrive all at once. It seeped in. Slow, heavy, relentless. The first call came from the venue manager. I recognized the number and let it ring. Then the caterer. Then rentals. Then lighting. I didn't answer any of them. Not because I was being dramatic. Because I had already said everything that needed to be said in writing. By late afternoon, my inbox looked like a panic room. "Lauren, can you confirm who's approving changes now, Lauren? We're getting conflicting instructions." "Lauren, Ethan doesn't seem to have the updated schedule." I stared at the screen numb, not satisfied, not smug, just done. At 4:17 p.m., my mother finally texted. "What did you do?" No hello, no concern, just accusation. I didn't reply. A minute later, my father followed. "You need to call us. Now." I locked my phone and slid it into my bag. I left work early and walked instead of driving. Austin heat pressed against my skin thick and unforgiving. The sun reflected off storefront windows, turning my reflection into a warped silhouette. I barely recognized myself. At home, I dropped my keys in the bowl by the door and stood there unmoving. My phone buzzed again. Ethan. I answered this one. "What the hell did you do?" he snapped. No greeting, no pause. I stepped back, I said. "You can't just do that." "I can," I replied. "I did." "You blindsided us," he said. "The vendors are freaking out." "You're the client," I said. "Handle it." A sharp inhale on the other end. Anger edged with fear. "You knew I couldn't manage this alone." That was the moment. That exact sentence. My hand tightened around the phone. "That sounds like a you problem," I said. Silence. Then colder. "You're being selfish." I laughed, not because it was funny, because it was predictable. "I wasn't invited," I said. "Why would I still work the event?" "You're doing this to punish us." "No," I said. "I'm doing this because you already decided I didn't belong. That's not what this is about." "Then what is it about?" I asked. He didn't answer. Instead, he said, "Mom's crying." There it was, the oldest weapon in the family arsenal. I closed my eyes. "I'm not coming back," I said quietly. He cursed and hung up. That evening, my mother left 3 voicemails. In the first, she sounded wounded. In the second, angry. In the third, controlled. "Lauren," she said, voice flat, "this behavior is embarrassing. People are asking questions. You're making your brother look bad. Not we. Not this situation. Me." I deleted all 3. Then my cousin texted, "Hey, things are kinda chaotic. Did you really just bail?" I stared at the message, then turned the phone off completely. The next morning, I woke up before my alarm. That rarely happened. The quiet felt different, lighter, like a room after furniture has been dragged out. I showered, dressed, and sat on the edge of my bed, staring at my packed work bag. I didn't want to go back into that office. Not yet. I opened my laptop instead and searched for flights. I didn't overthink it, didn't compare prices, didn't plan an itinerary. Sedona appeared on the screen, red rock cliffs glowing under the preview photo. I booked it. Departure Friday morning. Return undecided. When the confirmation email hit my inbox, something in my chest unclenched. That afternoon, I got the call I'd been waiting for. The venue manager again. This time I answered. "Lauren," he said, relief flooding his voice. "Thank God. Ethan doesn't have half the documents." "I'm no longer managing the event," I replied calmly. "I know, but I've transferred everything I said. Please work directly with him." A pause. Then carefully, "He's overwhelmed." I almost felt bad. Almost. "I'm sure he'll figure it out," I said. After we hung up, I stared at my reflection in the dark laptop screen. My face looked harder, sharper, like something had settled into place. That night my mother showed up unannounced. I heard the knock through the door. Sharp, urgent. I didn't open it at first. She knocked again, louder. When I finally did, she swept inside like she owned the place. "What were you thinking?" she demanded. I closed the door behind her. "I was thinking I'm tired," I said. "You embarrassed your family." "No," I corrected. "I embarrassed your expectations." She stared at me like I'd spoken another language. "You always do this," she said. "You overreact." I crossed my arms. "You taught me to be useful," I replied. "Not valued." Her mouth opened, closed. "That's not fair." "No," I said. "It's accurate." She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "You could have just let this go." I met her eyes. "I did," I said. "I let them go." Her face hardened. "You're being difficult," she said. "And one day you'll regret this." I nodded once. "Maybe," I said. "But I won't regret choosing myself." She left without another word. On Friday morning, I sat at the airport gate, coffee cooling in my hand. My phone stayed off. Somewhere across town, my brother was probably scrambling. Vendors calling, guests arriving, questions he couldn't answer. I felt a flicker of guilt. Then I remembered the text. "It's probably better if you don't come." The boarding call echoed through the terminal. I slung my bag over my shoulder, and walked forward. For the first time, I wasn't abandoning anyone. I was finally walking away from the role that had been slowly erasing me. The plane lifted off like it was shedding weight. I felt it in my chest first. That hollow drop, that brief panic, then the steady climb. Austin shrinking beneath the wing until it was nothing but grids and glare. I kept my phone off, not on airplane mode, off. I watched the safety demo without seeing it, listened to the engines settle into their rhythm. A woman across the aisle laughed too loudly. Someone opened a bag of pretzels. Ordinary life kept going. Mine had already crossed a line. Somewhere behind me, the event was starting to rot. I didn't know that yet. I just knew my shoulders weren't up around my ears anymore. When we landed in Phoenix, I turned my phone on. It lit up like a wound. Missed calls stacked on top of each other. Texts layered so thick they blurred. Mom, Dad, Ethan. Unknown numbers. A vendor I didn't recognize. I didn't open anything. I put the phone back in my bag and walked toward the rental car desk. The air outside was dry, unforgiving. The sky looked too big, like it didn't care what happened in Austin. I drove north as the sun dipped low red rock cliffs rising out of the desert like something ancient and unbothered. The road was quiet. My thoughts were not. By the time I checked into the hotel, it was evening back home. The party had begun. I ordered room service and sat on the edge of the bed shoes still on, watching the phone vibrate itself awake inside my bag. I let it ring until it stopped. Then again, and again. Finally, I checked one message. Mom. This is a disaster. That was it. No apology, no accountability, just expectation. I set the phone down and ate my food cold. Back in Austin, the venue doors were opening. Without me. The timeline I'd built minute by minute was already unraveling. No one was coordinating arrivals. The lighting crew didn't have final cues. The florist hadn't been told about the last-minute layout change Madeline insisted on. Ethan was trying to manage it all with a drink in one hand and his phone glued to his ear. He didn't know the vendors' names. They knew mine. The caterer called him twice before sending a text. We need approval. Lauren usually handles this. He didn't reply fast enough. The wrong trays went out first. Cold food, no backup, no explanation. Guests noticed. They always do. Someone complained near the bar. Someone else posted a story captioned, "Yikes." The lighting flickered, then dimmed, casting everything in a washed-out yellow that made the decor look cheaper than it was. Madeline snapped at a staff member. Ethan snapped back at her. Their smiles never reached their eyes. At the hotel in Sedona, I stood on the balcony and watched the sky turn bruised purple. The air smelled like dust and heat. I breathed it in slowly. My phone buzzed again. I checked it this time. "Ethan, where are you?" I didn't answer. Another message came in. "Lauren, this isn't funny. You need to call me." "Need." I put the phone face down. Back in Austin, the argument happened by the bar. Not quiet, not private. Madeline's voice cut sharp through the music. "You said you could handle this." Ethan's jaw clenched. I said Lauren could. That was when the room shifted. People heard. People looked. The perfect couple cracked in real time. Someone asked where the planner was. Another guest complained about the food. The venue manager pulled Ethan aside, his voice tight, professional patience fraying. "This isn't what we agreed to," he said. Ethan rubbed his face. Sweat darkened the collar of his shirt. My phone started buzzing nonstop. Mom, Dad, Ethan. A number I didn't recognize, probably a guest who wanted answers. I watched it all light up and felt something strange. Not joy, relief. I went to bed early, slept deeper than I had in months. When I woke up, sunlight poured through the curtains like it had permission. My phone was quiet for the first time since this started. I made coffee and sat outside wrapped in a thin robe watching the rocks catch fire under the morning light. Then the silence broke. A voicemail from my father. His voice was clipped, controlled, furious. "Your brother is humiliated," he said. "You could have stopped this." I deleted it. Another voicemail. My mother. Her tone had changed. Soft now. Careful. "Lauren, please call me. We need to talk." I deleted that one too. The next message was from Jenna. Just a link. I opened it. A local blog. Photos already circulating. Grainy shots of half-empty tables. Comments piling up underneath. "What happened here?" This looks thrown together. Did the planner quit? Jenna texted again. People are asking questions. I stared at the screen. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt clean. By the afternoon, the story had evolved. Not headlines, not yet, just whispers. Ethan had been seen yelling. Madeline had left early. Guests complained about organization. The event everyone had hyped for months was already being described with one word: messy. I took a long walk through the red rocks. Let the sun burn my shoulders. Let the silence do its work. That night, my mother texted one last time. I hope you're happy. I stared at it for a long time. Then I typed back 4 words. I'm finally honest. I turned the phone off. Miles away, my family was scrambling to assign blame. I was sitting under a desert sky, realizing something that had taken me years to learn. Walking away didn't ruin their night. It just removed the illusion that I was optional. And once that illusion died, everything built on it collapsed on its own. I didn't rush back. That was the first real change. In the past, I would have returned early, apologized for the inconvenience of my absence, offered to talk it out, cleaned up the emotional debris so everyone else could move on without discomfort. This time I stayed. Sedona didn't ask anything of me. The trails didn't care about timelines. The rocks didn't need approval. The mornings arrived without urgency, light spilling over the cliffs, like it had nowhere else to be. On my second day, I woke before sunrise and walked until my calves burned. No music, no phone, just the sound of my breath and gravel shifting underfoot. Each step felt like a subtraction, one less obligation, one less explanation. By the third day, the buzzing in my chest had gone quiet, not healed, just quiet. I checked my phone once in the afternoon. Curiosity, not need. Missed calls had slowed. The texts had changed tone. My mother's messages were careful now, short, neutral, like she was afraid of saying the wrong thing. My father stopped texting altogether. Ethan sent one last message that night. Madeline and I are taking some space. No apology, no reflection, just information. I didn't respond. That evening, Jenna called. Are you sitting down? She asked. I was cross-legged on the balcony, watching the sky dim into something softer. She told me the rest. Guests had left early. Vendors were frustrated. The venue manager quietly pulled back future recommendations. Madeline had walked out halfway through the night after another argument. By morning, the engagement was on pause. I felt nothing sharp, no satisfaction, no revenge, just a dull confirmation. When things are held together by one person's silence and labor, they don't survive honesty. 2 days later, Jenna sent me another message. This time it wasn't family. It was a link. She'd written a piece, not naming names, not airing details, just the truth, clean and restrained. A woman plans an event for family, is excluded, walks away, lets the consequences land where they may. It wasn't dramatic. It was surgical. The comments were already flooding in. This happened to me. Why do families do this? She didn't abandon them. They abandoned her first. I read them slowly, like letters from strangers who somehow knew exactly where it hurt. I closed the browser and went back to my journal. For the first time, I wasn't writing about anger. I wrote about relief, about how quiet can feel like safety once you stop confusing chaos with connection. When I returned to Austin 2 weeks later, my apartment felt different. Not empty, clear. The air was still. No constant phone buzz. No mental checklist humming in the background. I unpacked slowly, washed my clothes, opened the windows. Then the emails started coming in. Not from family, from clients. A couple planning a small wedding who had read Jenna's piece and liked my boundaries as much as my work. A nonprofit asking for consultation. A creative director who said, anyone who can walk away like that knows their worth. I took the meetings. I said yes to projects that respected my time, no to ones that didn't. The shift was immediate. A month later, Jenna told me Ethan and Madeline had officially called it off. No announcement, no drama, just quiet damage control. My mother tried one last time. She asked if we could start fresh. I asked what that meant. She didn't have an answer. So I didn't go. I didn't block them out of spite. I just stopped reaching. And without my effort holding the bridge up, no one crossed it. One night, weeks later, I sat alone on my couch with a glass of wine I didn't rush through. The city hummed outside. Normal. Alive. I thought about the version of myself who would have stayed silent, who would have shown up anyway, smiled through the disrespect, fixed everything so no one else had to feel uncomfortable. She was good at surviving. But she was exhausted. I didn't hate my family. That surprised me. I just didn't trust them with my labor anymore, or my loyalty, or my silence. Respect, I learned, isn't something you negotiate after it's been denied. It's something you withdraw when it's no longer mutual. The last message I ever saved from that time wasn't from Ethan or my parents. It was something I wrote to myself scrawled in the back of a notebook in Sedona. You are not difficult. You are done being convenient. I closed the notebook, turned off the light, and for the first time in a long while went to sleep without bracing for impact.